Hi everyone, it's Lisa from the Fiber Nymph Dye Works channel, and this video is not a regular podcast, but instead this is the introductory video for the 2024 make-along that I'm going to be hosting here on the channel, as well as in the related Ravelry group and on Instagram. And that is going to be the 2024 Project Pool Make-Along. You may have heard me mention that in the most recent episode or two of the podcast when I was first floating the idea. There was plenty of positive response to that, and so I'm happy to say that we are moving forward with it. I do have information up about that in the Ravelry group, so if you are able to access Ravelry, you can go to the Fiber Nymph Dye Works group, and there is a 2024 Project Pool Make-Along guidelines and chatter thread already up. Chatter is already happening, even though the make-along does not start till January 1st, but you're welcome to join in the pre-make-along chatter and planning. There is also a planning thread if you would like to create your own list there that's editable all throughout the year. And then there's a finished object thread there as well that will be for finished objects once the make-along starts. I will also be posting all of the guidelines in a pinned post on the Fiber Nymph Dye Works blog, so you can find that there all through the year next year. And if Ravelry is not accessible to you for posting pictures of your projects and talking about what you're doing, you're welcome to use the Instagram thread, the Instagram hashtag that I have set up for us next year. And that hashtag will be FDW Project Pool 24. I want to say 23. I need to make sure I did not write 23 in the guidelines. Make sure it's right. So FDW Project Pool 24. Okay, so I'm just going to go down through the guidelines, talk it through, and then if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments and I'll be happy to help you out. So number one, what are the dates for the Project Pool Make-Along? That will run all through next year. We are going to start January 1st and end December 31st. It'll be a full year's make-along this time, and that will give us the ability to maximize our making time. Keep in mind though, this is a very low-key make-along. If you aren't able to participate all year long, that is absolutely fine. You can come in and out of it as it suits you. No problem. It's not a commitment that you have to make for the entire year. So what exactly is a project pool? That's a great question. We can look at the project pool in many different ways, but the overwhelming idea of it is to create a pool, be physical or virtual, of projects that you would like to work on throughout the coming year. So as things come out of your pool, you'll be able to see progress being made in your making. And to kind of draw on the stop shoulding on yourself mail that we did this year, I also would like to see it be something that's going to encourage you to do the projects that you really want to work on, as opposed to filling your pool with things that you feel like, oh my gosh, I really should knit with that yarn that I've had for 10 years, or I really should make that blanket for whoever, I'm going to say it shouldn't be should projects. It should be those projects that you really want to make and that will bring you joy in your making. What this make-along is not a be-all and end-all to your making for 2024. Do not feel like you have to only work on the projects that you put into your project pool. Things come up all the time, whether it's maybe somebody's suddenly having a baby or getting married and you want to be able to make them a gift for those occasions. Of course, that's something that you want to do, and it may not be what was in your pool originally, but you're going to want to do it, and that's fine. You can add it to your pool if that'll make you feel good, or you can just do the project. It's fine. There's really no hard and fast rule on this. I just don't want you to feel like you can only work on the projects that you put in your pool. It's meant to be an inspirational and motivational tool, not a strict limiting type of thing. That's not what we're going for here. So, what should you use for your pool? That's a great question too. there's two different ways to approach this. And then there's a hybrid way to approach this. Number one is you can pick a actual physical containment unit, as I am showing you here. Now, to be honest, this may or may not be my actual unit that I'm going to use for 2024. I mainly brought this out and put some things in it to use as illustrations for you as I explain the make along. But this is a good example. It's a basket, and I can put things in it that I want to work on next year. You could use a plastic bin. You could maybe have a cubby if you have that kind of shelving or storage. Maybe you have a closet that you keep your crafting in and you designate one shelf for your project pool items. Whatever works for you. Maybe you have just a really large project bag. That would be great too. Whatever works for you and whatever will help keep those items that you've chosen in view, because that's really half the issue sometimes when we want to make things. We have to remember that we have them. And if you're like me and you have a fairly sizable stash, unless you make a conscious effort to go through it on a regular basis, it's really easy to forget that you have certain things. I'm not somebody who keeps my stash on Ravelry, so I can't check it online to see what I have. I know some people do, and that's probably very helpful. But yeah, I have to physically go through my bins and shelves to see what I have sometimes to remember, oh yeah, I do have that yarn or fiber or whatever. So anyway, you're going to use a containment unit. Or if you don't have the space for that, or that is not what vibes for you, you can do it virtually. As I said, there is a thread set up in the Ravelry group where you can create your own virtual project pool list. Much like we had our wish lists for the soy mow this year, same kind of thing. You're going to make your list. You're going to put whatever you want in it. You can edit it all year long. You can either mark things as done. If there's things that no longer float your boat, you can take them out, put other things in, or you can just cross them off as you're done. And when you're done with your pool, then you're going to feel like you've accomplished what you set out to do this year. Whatever works for you, that is great. You can do a hybrid approach to that by making the list and then also having a physical containment unit. And maybe you only put part of the things from your list in that basket or bin to begin with. If that works, if that is what works for you, that is fine as well. Yeah, so again, try to keep this loose and very manageable. The main goal is I want this to be something that's going to work for you to help you achieve things in your crafting next year that you really want to do. Okay, next question you might ask for the guidelines is what crafts or items can I put in my pool? Again, that's totally up to you. You can use specific skeins of yarn or braids of fiber that you want to work with. Maybe you want your pool to be full of patterns that you would like to make. Maybe it would be other crafts that you want to do. They don't even have to be fiber related, honestly. They can be whatever you want. Whips that you would like to finish. Whips are absolutely welcome. If it's something that you want to get done, then add it to your pool. Your pool does not have to be made up of all of the same things. So I'm going to take my pool, my little containment unit here that I brought in, my basket, and just show you some examples of like the things that I'm going to be adding to mine. And I'm going to be starting from the top. It's deep. So anyway, these two skeins of yarn, they have been balled up absolutely forever. I want to use them in a weaving project. So this is already one item that I know I'm going to use for weaving next year. So weaving is represented. This is also weaving yarn. Matter of fact, this was from my 2022 personal stash yarn challenge. This was one of the months I never got to. I'd really like to use it. I know how I want to weave it, so it's going into my pool. Then I've got some projects specifically that I know I want to do. This yarn represents one of them. This is another thing. If you have a bunch of sweaters that you want to do, obviously it's going to be really hard to fit like sweater quantities into like a small bin or something. just pull out one skein and have it be a representation of that project. That's what I'm going to do rather than trying to like cram everything in there. And that way I can keep my yarn nice and neat on the shelf where it belongs until I'm ready to use it. But anyway, this is the yarn I bought when my husband and I went to Ireland last year. I do have a pattern picked out for this. It'll be a nice cable-y long cardigan. I'm totally blanking on the name of it, but I have a pattern already picked out for it, so I know that this is something that I'm going to want to make. More yarn that I know is going to be a sweater is this, and these are only 2 skeins of it. This is my hand spun that I did thinking that I was going to make it. This was a combo spin that I was making, thinking I was going to make the DRK Everyday pullover. I may still make that sweater with this, but I'm not 100% sure, but I know I want to knit with this yarn next year. So I am going to have it represented in my basket. Another garment that I know I want to make is a crochet garment that I swatched for earlier this year and then never got around to doing it. So this is my little swatch. I don't have a pattern for it. I'm just going to do this motif over and over. So it'll be this, then this, then this, and then that again, the eyelets and the solid again. 2 squares, seam them together. It'd be just a drop shoulder kind of thing. And I have several skeins of this yarn. It's some Araucania Ranco that I've had absolutely forever. So but that's what I want to make with this, and I think it's going to look so pretty in this red. So it's in there. So those are some garments. Now obviously I'm not going to just do garments next year. I'm going to do some smaller things as well, knitting wise. I have a sock whip in here. Now this year I kind of got burned out on socks, and I did not knit a lot of socks later in the year. I'd say the second half of the year was a very low sock year for me. I haven't checked to see how many I've made this year. Not that it really matters at this point, but I am feeling the desire to work on socks again. And this is one that I started last year. This was actually a sample for one of my 2022 Pigskin Party colorways. So I am going to work on this in the coming year. Preferably this winter because it's great winter colors. And then the other thing that I have in here, this is a whip. This is a long standing whip. Matter of fact, it may be one of my longest, it may be my oldest whip. I'm not sure. Aside from a couple of blanket projects that I did from blanket swaps years and years and years ago. This is Gudrun Johnson's Hap pattern, which I started this, I don't even know what year I started it, but this is the center square. I was going to make the full hap, and then I decided, nope, I've had enough of this. I'm only going to do the half hap version. And so I do have the center triangle finished. It's been done for literally years now, like prior to the pandemic years now. And I did it with hand spun. I believe this was Lincoln. Was this Lincoln? I don't remember now. I'll have to look in my show notes or my project notes. But anyway, I have a whole bunch of hand spun, natural colored hand spuns that I was going to do for the feather and fan parts on the outside of this. And so that's all in my whips bin. I just put this in there as my representation for this. It actually takes up quite a bit of room. But that is another project that I'm going to work on. It's a whip, and I'd like to see it done. And then I've got other things in here that are not fiber arts related at all. This is a hoop, an embroidery hoop. I would like to do more embroidery. By saying more, I would like to do any embroidery at all because I have not gotten to do any. I had a couple of projects that I was going to do for gifts for the holidays this year. They never got anywhere. So anyway, I know I want to do them. Oh, and I also know that Bill is buying me an embroidery hoop stand so that it like sits on the table and it'll be easier to work. I'm getting that for Christmas because he asked me what I wanted and I said, I'd really like this. Here it is on Etsy. Can you buy it? Actually, was it Etsy? I don't know. But anyway, he bought me one. So I know I'll be getting that. So hopefully that'll also encourage me. But I'm just putting a hoop in here to remind me that that is something that I do want to work on. Another thing, which is in this small little project bag, has nothing to do with fiber arts. It is these little wooden discs. I like to do wood burning, and I have had the idea of doing a set of kind of runes. You might remember several years ago I wood burned a set of actual like Norse runes for my daughter. And I never did one for a set for myself. So I'd kind of like to have a set for myself just to have it because I think they're cool. But I also like doing my own little symbols. And I can't remember, I think it was the Winter Magical year of the holiday countdown sets. Everybody got a little symbol. That I would burn for them as a little motivational, inspirational tool. So anyway, I have a whole little baggie of these wooden circles. Some of them are already sanded, like the edges are sanded, and some of them are just cut, and I need to get my belt sander out and actually sand them, although they do look kind of cool with the rough edges. Anyway, so I'm going to keep those in there, and hopefully I will be able to work on that. And the last thing that I have in here at this point, not that that's, again, the last thing I'm going to add, but it's a set of paints. I actually kind of got into watercoloring, I want to say like early summer in 2022. And I had even joined like sort of like a real low-key art challenge in a group that I was in, a fiber arts group, but then they were doing other things too. And then I got derailed when my son passed away, and I kind of got away from it, and then I never continued it. But I have a lot of art supplies, paint supplies. So this is a watercolor set that I got through a TikTok shop because it sucked me in, these Graby paints. They have all kinds of art kits out there. But anyway, I have a couple of those. So I put these in here. Obviously, if I'm actively using this and the paints are wet, I'm not going to be putting it in the basket. But it's there to remind me that I would like to do that. So those are the things that I have in my basket. You could go anywhere with this. Like if you want to bake, maybe you want to make different desserts that you've never made before. Or maybe you want to try cooking meals from a specific type of food. A friend of mine was just telling me how she's starting to research like Indian cuisine. And she wants to work on some of that. She's probably not going to be in our make along, but she's like, starting to make her own list of things that she can do next year to broaden her culinary skills. So things like that, put a cookbook in there, or maybe print out some recipes. We had someone this year in the Stop Shooting on Yourself Mal who baked bread every month for their thing to do, and it was lovely. And I wish I was good at baking bread. I'm so not good with yeast things, but maybe I'll try it sometime. Anyway, those are just some ideas I wanted to share with you. Again, you can put whatever you want in your pool. It is totally up to you. Again, the key is that it should be something that is inspirational and motivational to you, that you really want to work on. So that brings us to the next question. How many things should go into your pool? Well, that is also up to you. However, for the sake of what this is meant to be, in the spirit of it being something manageable, rather than like, just looking at your entire stash and saying, oh, that's my pool. We're going to try to narrow it down and keep it to a manageable number so that you don't become overwhelmed and that you can focus a little bit. I am recommending to keep your pool probably between like 10 and 20 items at a time. Remember, you can switch things out. You can add new things as you finish projects. So you're not just limited to 10 to 20 for the entire year. Just at a time. Now, I know some people might be doing like a 24 and 24 challenge kind of thing. So if you want to put 24 items in your pool, that's fine too, if that's what works for you. Again, the number you use isn't super important. It's more just keep it manageable so that you don't get overwhelmed by it right away. Can you add new things to your pool or change things out throughout the year? Absolutely. Because I'm sure I'm not the only one who might be totally gung-ho on this skein of yarn in January, and then I don't use it by April, and I'm looking at it thinking, oh, I have to use that yarn. I don't want it to be a have to. Like, If I decide this is not what I want to weave right now, I want to be able to take it out and maybe put something else in its place. That is totally up to you. You have the latitude to do whatever you want to keep things exciting and fun for you. Now, some people might say, I'm starting with 24 items, and by the end of the year, I would like that basket or bin to be absolutely empty. And if that is what helps you be motivated, then perfect. Do that. Like, as you see that basket empty, if that's more motivating to you, then please do that. Don't feel like you have to add more. If you finish all of your things by May, then you're done. You can refill it and do it again. You don't have to. Whatever you want to do. Also, at this point, I just want to remind you, sometimes we make plans, and then sometimes life decides it has other plans for us. And that's okay. Try to be flexible. None of us know what's going to happen in our year coming up. Hopefully it's going to be all good stuff, but things happen that mean we need to shift gears or, maybe veer off the path we had, or maybe just sit out for a little bit. That's fine. Do what you need to do. The make-along's going to be here all year. And if you need to alter the plans substantially, that's fine too. Again, whatever works for you. That's what's important. Okay, last but not least, will there be prizes for the Project Pool Make-Along? Sure there will. I love doing prize draws for my make-alongs. That's part of the fun of it for me. So there are definitely going to be prizes awarded next year. I am going to do them on a bi-monthly basis next year rather than every month. I think that will keep it a little bit more manageable for me. But there will definitely be prizes. I will be drawing one, same way I did it this year, a prize winner from the chatter thread, a prize winner from the FO thread, and then a prize winner from the Instagram hashtag. Now, if you've been around and you've followed me for the soy mow, you know Instagram has become exceedingly frustrating because you used to be able to sort posts based on the date that they were posted, which made it really easy for me to see what ones were from October or November. You can't do that anymore, and it's very annoying to me. But rather than be frustrated by it, the way I'm going to handle Instagram things is your tagged Instagram posts for the MAL, for the FDW Project Pool 24 posts, they will be eligible for prizes all year long, no matter when you posted them. So if you post something in January, that post will still be eligible for an Instagram prize throughout the whole rest of the year. The only thing is your same post can only win a prize one time. So that's, I think that's pretty fair. But that's the easiest way for me to handle it, with Instagram being the way it is. Now, if Instagram happens to change the way they operate throughout the year, maybe that'll change. But for right now, we're going to just keep it that way. And I will just use the entire pool of Instagram posts all year. Now, I will also say, very few people use the Instagram hashtag, and I don't know if that just means that there's not a lot of you in our community who use Instagram regularly. But if you are on Instagram and you're taking part in the make-along at all, please remember to use the hashtag. It's a great way to up your chances of a prize winner, because literally I think we had a very small handful of people doing it, because I know I sent out prizes to the same few people a couple of different times throughout the year, which is great for them. But, I'm just saying, feel free to use that hashtag if you're doing something related to our make-along. Give those people a little bit of competition. Friendly competition, you know what I mean. But it's there. It's an option for you. And so I will be announcing prize winners in the first regular podcast after the end of a 2-month period. So January and February, I will announce prize winners in March. March and April, I will announce March, April, I'll announce in May. May, June, in July. You get what I mean. So, and the prizes this year, I think I'm going to mix them up a little bit. Some of them will be yarn prizes. Some of them will be patterns that are giftable on Ravelry. Yeah, I don't know. I may end up throwing some other prizes in there if I'm maybe making things that you might be interested in as prizes. They might enter the prize pool. Who knows? But yes, there will be prizes. So I think that covers all of the guidelines and all of the points of importance for the make-along. Again, it begins January 1st, runs through December 31st. If you're taking part in other make-alongs next year, you are absolutely welcome to double dip in those, as long as they also allow that. And if you have any questions about the make-along, about the guidelines, about anything, please feel free to either leave a comment below this video, or you can post in the Ravelry group. You can post on the blog post in the Fiber Nymph Dye Works website, or you can just email me at lisa@fibernymphdyworks.com and ask me about it, and I'll be happy to get back to you. So that is everything. I hope you will be joining us for this new make-along in 2024. I'm really excited about it, and I can't wait to see what you make and what comes splashing out of your project pool next year. So that's it for today. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.